Welcome to the Movie Book Club. Oh, that's a bit loud. My name is David Sheehan. I'm here with Mr. James McAuliffe, and we're going to be talking about Snowpiercer Part 2.
Yes.
How are you today, James?
I'm doing very well, my friend. I think I've got a bit more love for Snowpiercer.
It grew on you over time.
Yeah, certainly.
Pierced your heart. So when we just left it, they had just completed a big action fight set piece. And I think one thing you mentioned to me off air that you quite liked was that they get together then for like a group photo.
They do, yeah, which is great. It's kind of like basically the last posse who push forward. And I think there were 7 of them again, which is a number like Magnificent Seven. Of them standing in the picture.
Yeah, we're seeing lots of 7s, but lots of 7s in Shazam as well.
Yeah, lots of 7s in Shazam. I was thinking of that. So yeah, they gather for this photo, and also then Spud puts the shoe on top of Tilda Swinton's head.
Yeah.
And then like that kind of like completes that circle of this is the other shoe dropping.
Yeah.
And so they're going to make that final push forward.
And she made a point of saying that she is a hat and they're a shoe. So they put a shoe on her. It's like, no, you're a shoe now.
Exactly.
We're the hat.
Exactly.
So that photo was obviously taken by the artist. I think is just the name he's called. The guy who paints the things in charcoal.
Yeah.
Remarkably quickly.
Yeah, really, really quickly. He's a fantastic artist. And he's the guy who gives everyone sketches of their children when they go missing. Yeah. But that was a really cool a moment of it.
And we glossed over the sort of carriage progression originally.
Yes.
And just to go through what we've seen so far, because I made a note of all the carriages we see as we went through it. So we start with the tail section.
Yes.
And then we've got what looks like the quarantine section, which is just sort of the one before the tail section. Then it's the jail where they got Nam, the security specialist.
Yeah.
Then the soldiers' quarters. Then the food production quarter where the protein blocks are made out of cockroaches.
Yes.
Then we've got where we left off the last day, which is where they had the big fight.
Yes.
And then after that is the water production facility where they thought they had sort of taken the train.
Yeah.
And they hadn't.
But where she basically says to them, you know, water in the mouth, not in the bum.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they sort of take Minister Mason as their prisoner and they're walking through. We get some montages of some of the other carriages. There's a lot of carriages on this train and I assume they gloss over some of them.
Yeah.
I didn't mention this to you, but Snowpiercer is based on a French graphic novel.
It is, yeah. I forgot to actually.
Which I have.
Oh, excellent.
And I've read.
Yeah.
Not great.
Okay.
It is, like, this film has an amazing visual vision that, like, you really get the idea that Wilfred, who made this train, is just a nut job. And he made the most over-designed, over-engineered train ever.
Certainly.
But it's an amazing place to write out the apocalypse.
Yeah.
In the graphic novel, it's just a train.
Oh.
Like, there's nothing remarkable about it. Okay. Every carriage looks like a carriage of a train.
Okay, I get you, Dave. And it's not until actually later on that we get to our first carriage that looks like a carriage. It's actually almost at the end of the train.
Yeah. And like I was very disappointed by the graphic novel. And it seems like the creators of this film sort of just saw the idea of the graphic novel, read through and went, oh, that's a cool idea.
Exactly.
I don't like this story because the story has nothing to do with the story we're dealing with now.
Okay, that's cool. A lot of the greatest films, though, are like that.
Yeah.
Where a director gets a book and just gets inspiration more than he's going to do a translation of it.
Yeah, and the other film that we were talking about, the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune,
yes.
He had a similar thing where he liked the book of Dune, but he wasn't going to do a direct adaptation.
No, and that's Jodorowsky down to a T.
As he was talking through the plot, I was like, I think I've read Dune, and I don't think that's how it ends. And then he was like, oh, no, this is what I decided to. Oh, that's fine. That's like, you can do your own vision. Like,
exactly.
That's completely acceptable.
A total genius. You know?
So as we're walking through then, after the water storage area, there's like an arboreum greenhouse, like hydroponics bay.
Yeah, with a lady knitting in the middle of it, which is hilarious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's gotten wool somewhere, or some type of wool, or some type of material to knit. But yeah, there's a lady knitting on a chair.
Oh my God, I wonder, do they have sheep?
Yeah, I know what I was thinking as well. As they're walking through, and then one of them like eats a tomato, and Tilda Swinton is saying like, oh, they're okay, they're friendly.
Yeah.
They won't bite anything except the tomatoes.
Yeah. So that's them using her to get through the bits of security that they don't have access to.
And another thing we see too, which is great, it really shows that all forms of life actually are alive on the train. When the little girl picks up the dirt, it's full of worms.
Yeah.
And she's never seen the dirt before, and her father Kenya says that, you know, this is what I used to walk on in the outside world. Yeah,
that's a good moment. Which I didn't have because my copy of this on Netflix didn't have subtitles. So I was like, oh, I'm trying to remember what he's saying right now.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And then after that, we get your aquarium, then we get it. Oh, that's where we eat our sushi.
Yeah, and we talk about the balance and enclosed ecosystems. After the aquarium, there's a butcher's, an abattoir.
And they do a nice thing in the sushi section when they're eating it, when they look out, because they're eating sushi, outside is a destroyed ship. And it's a factory fishing ship. So one of those ones used to harvest the ocean in a bad way. So again, more reinforcing his eco buzz.
Yeah. And then after the abattoir, we come to the school.
Yes, absolutely, Dave. And that abattoir really gives a kind of, it's a foreshadowing of the school in a strange way. Here all the meat is hung, and then we go into the school, which is kind of in a way the new meat to run the whole train.
Yeah, and it is weird, like, smell-wise, that you would have an abattoir right next to a school.
And which is really strange. When we go into the school, one of the first images we see in the school is, again, the camera is looking back towards the tail section where Curtis and his posse have walked in. And just to the left-hand side of them, the poster is of Native American Indians.
Oh, right,
so again, I was thinking of the director reinforcing again to us that idea that Native American Indians were there to be saviors of the land, and they didn't believe in ownership.
Right.
So it was just reinforcing again that we were wrong, and that we brought about our own apocalypse.
And then in this school, there is a pregnant school teacher played by Alison Pill.
Yeah.
In a good,
magnificently crazy.
Good cameo.
Oh, like she's, like she's had revelation. She's waiting for the rapture. She basically looks like she's down south in America, and she only prays to her granduncle, who's the leader of the bloody family.
Yeah, she is very much what Americans would say, drinking that Kool-Aid.
Oh man, she's out there. You know. And here is one of the first places we see complete light. Every single window is open. Every single window is clean. Everything has colour in it. And strangely enough, in that scene, Dave, she sings the song first.
Yeah. They sing a song and they
play... She
shows
a video of Wilfred, like you said, Dave.
Video.
A propaganda video about him making the train when he was a child.
Yeah, and there's lots of things, the people in the old world thought Wilfred was crazy, but they didn't understand.
Yeah, he's genius, And even in that room, I mean, she has an organ that revolves. The decadence is ridiculous.
It's like Austin Powers vibes.
And then we get our first, because to play a tune, she brings in a character we'd met earlier in the film called Gerald.
Gerald comes back.
And he's dressed in a full three-piece suit, the whole lot. And in a strange way, he almost looks like he's been assimilated. Yeah. That you get Borg-esque as you get closer to the front.
Yeah, we don't know how much time has passed since he went away. Tanya even comments like, damn, Gerald looks good.
Yeah, straight up. And that's the thing Tanya does almost immediately, her and Spud. When they go in, they start asking the children about their own children. Yeah. Actually, they run up to two children thinking they are their children because they're wearing masks.
Yeah. And they show them the pictures the artist gave them.
Yes, certainly. And a little boy recognizes them.
And says he saw them come through. He said, where were they? Yeah. And the kid just said, well, they came in that door. They went out that door. Because obviously it's a train. Exactly. That's the only thing that could have happened if they're not here.
Exactly.
And you didn't miss them. And the school video also shows the route of the Snowpiercer.
Oh, you're absolutely...
Which is a 438,000 kilometre rail that's said to go all the way around the world. But we were discussing off mic, it doesn't look like it goes across the whole world.
And just before you said it, when they show the video, for some reason all the children's dab. That drove me insane when they dabbed.
Did they?
They all dabbed. Everyone dabbed.
I missed that.
I swear to God, the whole carriage dabbed.
I've got a dab blindness.
Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave. It travels around the world. It travels around a good chunk of Europe. It obviously doesn't get to England and Ireland. It doesn't get to the Nordic countries. It doesn't get to the Nordic countries. The coldest place it gets to really is a kind of a piece of Siberia, and it seems to get to Australia. But yeah, like we were discussing after, strangely, when they pass a point, like we had the bridge. The bridge is the new year that passes.
Yeah, Happy New Katarina Bridge is what they say.
Exactly, Dave. So, strangely enough, the holidays they seem to celebrate are very Western, and then not only Western but American.
Yeah.
Because one of them is called Summer Holiday. The other one's called Independence Day, Labor Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Halloween, for strangely enough, Thanksgiving, Christmas, which gives you both sides, New Year's, but then... And Easter Sunday, again, another religious holiday. And then, but Washington's birthday and Lincoln's birthday.
That is very American.
Very arbitrary. Yeah, very weird.
For
very
a film made by South Koreans and filmed in the Czech Republic.
So you can see, again, he is firmly looking towards the West and looking at America, who are consuming so much more carbon than us, and saying it is your fault. And you aren't signed up to the Paris Accord.
Yeah. I wonder, did this predate that? Because this came out in 2013, I think. I think that was before we went down the dark Trump timeline.
They were going there anyway. They weren't really.
They sing the school song, which is a wonderful example of kids experiencing propaganda. Because they're like saying, what happens if you go outside the train? You all freeze and die.
Yes.
What happened to the revolutionaries? They all froze and die. And then they say, the line they repeat a lot, the kids do, is rumble, rumble, rattle, rattle, it will never die.
Certainly does.
Referencing the Eternal Engine.
Eternal Engine is right, yeah. The engine is eternal. And actually, we mentioned just too quickly, really, when Gerald comes out to play the music, he comes out to play the music because the children are all sitting down in front of the windows to watch what they call the Frozen Seven.
Yes, another seven.
Another seven, exactly, Dave. So there was a revolt of the seven people tried to escape. Our Asian protagonist says that one of them was the maid from the front of the train, but she was an Inuit. He says actually specifically an Eskimo, so that's just that's just from Greenland as opposed to the rest of the Arctic Circle. But which was a lovely touch is when he's teaching his daughter about them and telling her that they could survive. Right in front of them is just a line of 7 Russian dolls. So that they all fit into each other again, that they're all the one unit. His symbolism throughout the movie is there for everyone to see, you know.
That's some good visual design.
And then of course, because now it's probably the first time when we finally get midways in the train, well, just before for the fight obviously does it. It was the first time we were established ourselves in a time of some sort, like we were just discussing. So we know we are in New Year's, and this is the birth of a new year. So yeah, they get a present.
They do get a present. The New Year's eggs come out.
Yes, Dave.
Which is brought by a very eggy-looking man.
Yeah.
Who also, I think, played some kind of collector in X-Men Apocalypse.
He did, yes, certainly.
He's got a creepy kind of...
He does.
He moves a bit like a marionette. He doesn't look quite human, but he's basically pushing a... what do you call a hand truck trolley?
It's a hand truck trolley. It's like a
wheelbarrow, basically.
It's basically a very large wheelbarrow. Yes,
full of boiled eggs.
Boiled eggs, yeah, boiled from the steam of the glorious engine.
Yeah,
you know?
and they're referred to as being New Year's eggs.
Yes.
And while he's handing out these eggs, Jared is playing his violin, and I think so. The line I was going to say comes later, but yeah, everybody's given an egg, and you mentioned Tanya takes the egg and like cracks it on the head of one of the children.
She literally cracks it on the head of a child just to get the shell off so she can eat it.
Yeah.
And of course Curtis rips his egg open and he gets another one of his red letters inside it. Not his final red letter, but this red letter I think was blood.
It says blood. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, certainly.
And
then we kind of have jump cuts between the school and your baldy weirdo guy.
Yeah.
Slowly making his way all the ways to the back with the eggs for people.
He goes back through the carriages that we had just seen.
Exactly.
And he ends up back in the water production carriage.
Exactly. Where our revolt has settled. Really,
the beachhead for the revolt.
Exactly, that's really good.
And he's giving eggs to all the rebels, and he seems weirdly like what the word is, like he's not in the present moment. He looks like he's kind of in a dance in his head. He doesn't look like he's 100% lucid.
And again with the propaganda, he to him it's just another job. It's something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
These people need to be culled. Because like one of the back people says, I thought chickens were extinct.
Yes. And he says, interesting piece of trivia. They're not extinct, and they're not the only thing that was taught to be extinct that isn't. And they go, what's the other thing? And he pulls out from the wheelbarrow something we will tell you after this. Welcome back to the Movie Book Club. We were discussing a plot twist. My name is David Sheen. I'm here with James McAuliffe on Z103 Online.
Oh, yeah.
The Eggy Man reaches into his wheelbarrow and produces a submachine gun.
Yes.
And the implication was that the other thing that didn't go extinct was the bullets.
Yeah, because they had said kind of earlier, they hinted just that all the bullets had been used up, and that's how Curtis starts Curtis's revolution.
Yeah.
You know?
And he shoots a bunch of our kind of secondary revolution characters that we might have known, and we see him then freeing the prisoners that had been captured in the water section.
Yes.
And then he tips over his wheelbarrow, and you see that it was only boiled eggs on top.
Yeah.
The bottom of it is all submachine guns.
Literally full of machine guns.
Yeah.
Everyone is armed.
So I wrote down that this is kind of the turn of the film, and at this point, the revolution was always progressing forward, progressing left to right.
Yes.
But this is kind of the moment where they can't go back because they've basically lost their beachhead.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of getting pincered, or you assume they're getting pincered because the force that they'd conquered from behind in the surrender is now armed.
Yeah, and they're on both sides of them.
Yeah, they're on both sides of them.
Excellent point,
and they've basically lost their troops.
Point.
So what I wrote down is that they can't go back. And a moment that we both made a note to talk about was that our primary mid-boss, Franco the Older,
yes,
was captured, and now he is freed.
Yeah.
And we see on the propaganda television in the schoolroom that he executes Gilliam.
Yes.
Which is a big deal for the revolution because I think we were talking about as well that, Curtis still regarded Gilliam as being the leader.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas everybody regarded Curtis as being the leader,
everybody just
Gilliam.
Knew naturally, that Curtis was the man to lead them out.
And after he shoots Gilliam, he looks at the television he looks up at the camera in a very menacing way.
Yeah.
And then we realize from our protagonist's perspective that he's looking directly through the camera at the Asian daughter. She knows as well that he's looking at him. He's looking at her because she has the clairvoyance. Because he remembers that she killed the younger guy.
Yes.
So he's on a revenge bent for her. He doesn't care about any of this train stuff or any of this revolution.
No, absolutely. Certainly, I agree with you, Dave. When the younger Franco died, all of a sudden it just became a revenge picture for this one character.
Yeah.
He has no care at all for his own life or anyone else's life. He has literally just care for revenge.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really highlighted in a while.
Yeah, and there's a great section where they're walking through the train. And they get to a curve in the track.
Yes, and just before we get that.
Oh, good, yes.
Exactly, like you said, Dave. So in the back, they've executed all of them, but in the front, the teacher herself pulls out a submachine gun.
Yes, I forgot this.
Shooting up the classroom.
Yeah.
Arbitrarily. She doesn't care if she kills any of the children even.
Yeah.
She just literally wants to get rid of the people from the back of the train.
And the first person she kills is Spud.
Spud, straight through the head.
We lose Spud immediately to Alison Pill.
Absolutely, we do. And then Curtis, she runs out of bullets. Curtis gets up just before she reloads, overpowers her.
Gray, actually.
Oh, sorry, I apologise.
He indicates to Gray, and Gray, ninja that he is, throws a knife straight into her head.
Yeah, great throw.
So Gray has taken out Alison Pill. We were talking about this as well during the ad break, how it's interesting how Gray is the only character covered head to toe in tattoos.
Yeah.
Sort of going back to our John Wick sort of gulag references that it tells his story.
Exactly. And Gray does use it once. Like we said earlier as well, it would be really interesting to see, was there other cuts, was there stuff left out of it?
Yeah.
Was Gray's tattoos used more throughout the film? But it's just one moment where he has a fella captured and he just shows him his arm. He says, surrender or die.
Yeah.
And they're your options, because Gray doesn't say anything. And Gray seems to be Gilliam's right-hand bodyguard.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they overpower or they take the weapons off her. And then again, we have Tilda Swinton kind of...
Yes. She runs for a machine gun and she turns to try and shoot them, but she's still bound. So at the moment she goes to shoot them, they knock the gun out of her hand and she's still simpering, sucking up. And she goes to them, it wasn't me, just the worst line.
Oh my God.
The worst line.
Yeah, it really
is. The most pathetic.
It really is. It was basically like a Bart Simpson line, but like everyone else is slaughtered.
Yeah.
I didn't do it, it wasn't me. Don't look here. And then Curtis makes, and at that point as well, like you said, Dave, they are fully committed now because they're surrounded on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's almost a way that Curtis accepts that because he just shoots her straight in the head and moves on.
Doesn't need her anymore. He does acquire the weapons that were used in the classroom. So now they have, I think, maybe one gun, maybe two guns. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
But they are slightly armed.
They're slightly armed, is right.
And certainly. They start to cut ahead and...
then they go through, Then we realize then after the middle section, the middle class where the children are, that we really are going towards the upper class.
Yeah.
The tail section, because their stuff, each carriage has less people in it.
Yes.
And becomes more... only one use, let's put it that way.
Yeah, and this is sort of the middle section you were talking about at our last episode, where there's actually a lot of windows along here.
Yeah, there's loads. We're actually getting to the room with the most windows in a moment.
Oh,
for two reasons. In the sense that when he's walking through it, Curtis powers on, and he goes through a carriage that seems to have a dentist, a library, a tailor. He goes through into a tea room, kind of a bar.
Yeah.
They walk up a spiral staircase.
It's like a 2-level dining car, and the people in there are very done up. They're very fancy looking people.
Really elaborate.
Like ball gowns and like wigs and
they
done hair.
They look wealthy, but in the sense that money means nothing anymore. So it's all arbitrary. It's all just basically costume.
Yeah.
And artifice.
Well, I think we see this in first-person perspective, which we haven't seen since the fight out on the train. And you see all the other people looking at the tail sectioners going, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Yes, certainly. And they probably don't because they've never seen them before. Because most people have never been to other parts of the train. They all kind of stay in their own little microcosm.
And there is I don't know, is it an oldie style or is it still done? But those hairdressers where there's the women sitting in the row of chairs with the big hairdryer, like helmet things on their heads.
Again, a classic American movie trope.
Yeah.
So again, harking back to American films and Americana.
Yeah. And then once they've walked through all these sections, they get to a swimming pool cart.
Totally.
Which is a very interesting thing on a train.
It's amazing. I mean, there's literally about 2 people in it, and there looks to be about 3 or 4 pools.
Yeah.
It is a huge room with just swimming pools in it.
Yeah.
And here we have one of the more interesting shootouts.
Yes.
Yes, because like you said, Dave, the train at this point is doing a massive 180 turn. So most of the train is on a bend, so that this swimming pool is now looking back towards the school carriage.
I believe it is the school carriage,
I think it's the school carriage as well, Dave. And in the school carriage is Franco the Older with 2 other guards armed.
Yeah.
And he basically starts wasting bullets.
He does.
Trying to shoot through bulletproof glass, which is in front of him, to get an arc into more bulletproof glass to try and kill the Asian girl.
Yeah, but the accuracy on display here is incredibly impressive.
Unbelievable.
Franco
literally unbelievable. But you know what I mean? Suspend your disbelief. It's a movie. Get over yourself.
These guys are like military grade snipers with like handheld close range weapons. But yeah, the shots are very accurate. But there's a moment where Franco kind of shoots through the bulletproof glass just to get a hole to put the end of the gun out.
Exactly.
And Curtis is firing back.
Yeah, certainly. And as they're fighting each other out, that hole Curtis puts in the window, one snowflake comes through it. And it gives a sense to the Asian guy of the outside world again, what his whole mission is striving towards.
Yeah. And there's a final bit in the shootout where they both just fire one bullet, and those bullets, had the glass not been bulletproof, would have gone exactly into each other's, like, between their eyes.
Oh yes, you're so right.
And it's that kind of that point where they give up and they're like, no, we'll stop.
I need to chase this guy down. And Curtis needs to keep going.
Curtis needs to get out of there. He now has the impetus of a speed behind him because he knows that someone's coming for him from behind as well.
Yeah.
And what's in front of him is kind of uncertain.
Exactly.
Then
it actually kind of, in a strange way, we get out of the swimming pool. And like any swimming pool you've been to in your life, there's saunas and steam rooms.
Yes.
So we go into the sauna and steam room, which lends itself to that whole idea of fogginess. You can't really see what's happening. You don't really know what's about to happen next again. And, more symbolism in the film. And for some reason, Franco must have ran like a lunatic.
He catches up to them immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Immediately. A Terminator boy. Yeah.
And at this point, we don't know where our protagonists are. They're hiding.
Exactly.
And
this carriage is full of a series of small rooms, like we said, which are all saunas.
Yeah. And it's very steamy. And a front section passenger comes out, and Franco shoots him. And then one of the two guards says to Franco, hey, you shot a front section passenger. You can't do. And then he shoots him too.
Exactly.
And then he turns to the other guard, and the other guard's like, yo, dude, I don't even care.
Yeah.
And he goes to shoot him as well.
But he's out of bullets.
So I think maybe they don't show it, but I don't think we see that guard again. I think maybe he's out. I think he just leaves.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I think you could be totally right. I wouldn't be. He's like, I'm out here, lads. I'm washing my hands of this.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to go back to that swimming pool carriage.
Yeah. It's like George Costanza. He makes a good joke. I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm going to leave in a high.
And then Franco opens a number of the saunas, and he finds a large fat lady who says, close the door, you're letting the steam out.
Yes.
And he puts like...
And just before that, like you say, Dave, absolutely, and you're nearly there. What we're getting here is a section of all of them sacrificing themselves for Curtis.
Yes.
As in, what's her name? Timmy's mother jumps on the gun, takes a bullet. Gray takes literally a knife to the heart. And actually he takes a knife to the hand first to stop Curtis. Because Curtis does again. Curtis slips and falls again, which is another strange trope of his character. He slipped on a fish. He slips on I don't know what he slips on.
I can't remember. I know in this section he does get knocked out. You're right. This happens before the thing I was talking about.
Exactly.
He attacks Franco, and Franco basically overpowers him and either knocks him out or Curtis knocks himself out.
Yeah. Because at this stage Franco's got a knife in his back.
He does.
Gray nails him with it again.
Yeah. He shoots Tanya, knocks Gray out, knocks Curtis's out, and then he's going to stab Curtis, and then as you said, Gray puts out the hand to catch the knife.
Yes, certainly. Then he has a battle with him.
They have a close quarters fight, and like Gray is like our highest level ninja from the tail section, but Franco is just like a beefy powerhouse.
He's just a beefy powerhouse.
Some sort of genetically modified soldier.
He does feel like that, Dave. Yeah, he certainly does.
He is a mute.
He's a mute, and he does feel genetically modified. He does feel extra.
Yeah,
because he does seem to be able to survive so many weapons and stabbings and shootings, and it doesn't seem to stop him at all.
I just realized actually that him and Gray are both mutes, so they have a very quiet fight scene. There's no dialogue. There's no grunting.
Yeah, excellent point.
It's just two guys kind of breathing and trying to stab each other. But yeah,
excellent point.
Franco does overpower Gray.
Yeah.
And he kills him. And then Curtis is still knocked out on the ground.
Yeah.
But Curtis isn't what Franco cares about. He was only going to kill him because he was right there in front of him.
Exactly. He's just in his way.
Yeah, just in his way. But now that Franco is somewhere else in the carriage and Curtis is still on the ground, Franco doesn't care. He's still looking for the Asian girl.
Yes.
I wish I'd written down her name. She's played by Go Ah-sung.
No, I know. I got the same. I didn't write down her name.
But yeah, the character's name, I'm not sure he caught it.
Yeah.
And as he's going through, he finds a very overweight lady in her own little sauna, and he puts. She says, "I'll close the door, you're letting the steam out." and he puts like a machete to the side of her head.
Just slightly moves
just
her head
to push her to the side.
With the tip of a machete.
And you see that both Nam and his daughter are hiding behind her.
Exactly. And you see the daughter first. You're not really sure about Nam.
Yeah.
And it cuts to outside the door, and all of a sudden Nam jumps out and fights him.
Oh yeah, maybe Nam was hiding somewhere else actually. But Nam, like, despite not being as big of a dude as Captain America, he holds himself pretty well.
He does hold himself.
I don't know, is this guy super famous in South Korea that he gets like Tom Cruise powers?
Maybe.
Like, a little 4 foot tall dude can like beat up everybody in a hand-to-hand fight because he's really famous.
He does a really good job of it.
And Nam wins this fight, and there's an interesting moment where he has Franco pinned, and he's trying to like strangle him, and his daughter.
He does a classic thing actually, which is again like your first person, your night vision, again the computer game tropes. Go through it. Nam defeats him with the ultimate first-person shooter weapon, the crowbar. Everyone gets a goddamn crowbar. From Duke Nukem on, it doesn't matter. You have a crowbar to start with. Yeah, so he has a crowbar.
Yeah. And as he's beating Franco down, the daughter comes and picks up the machete that he moved the fat lady with, and she goes to stab Franco in the side. Nam catches her hand, twists her wrist so she drops the knife, and then goes back to beating Franco.
Yes, because Nam doesn't want her to get involved in this darkness.
There's a sense that like he's part of kind of like the lost generation, that there's no hope for him, but like there's hope for her.
Yes.
So he's kind of trying to keep her pure.
Certainly.
And we'll talk about what happens next after this. And we're back. Welcome back to the Movie Book Club. My name is David Sheehan. I'm here with Mr. James McAuliffe on Z103 Online. So Nam and Franco are in like a life or death struggle.
Yeah.
And Curtis wakes back up. He grabs the machete that the daughter dropped, and he stabs him in the side.
Yes. Curtis basically, we believe, has killed Franco the Older. Right now. So now they can move on again. So they defeated another wave of the people up front. So now they can move forward again for one more time. So like we'll say, after the next room we get to, strangely enough, is actually he walks through a carriage that's in complete darkness first, and then the next carriage we get is a nightclub.
Yes. So after the sauna, we had the kind of what was the complete darkness carriage? Didn't write that one down.
And I rewound it a few times just to get it. There's just kind of slight blue lights in it, and they don't give us anything that's in that carriage.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. In a strange way, I thought for some reason was it a brothel, before the club, because everything is about to get very decadent.
Yeah.
And their type of drug and their type of mindless behaviour as well is about to be shown to us. A bit like the Cronal for the people in the back. But we get to a nightclub, and again, then we've changed now from a place where it had the most windows to back to darkness again. The nightclub is solid dark, but not only is it solid dark, they're all watching one wall with projections on the wall. And no one seems to have any concept of ownership.
Yeah.
The further we get forward. It doesn't matter that you're taking someone's bottle of drink or taking someone's coat or robbing their jewellery. Because the fact it's an enclosed system, nothing is going anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
Because they stay at 74% of culling all the time, it doesn't really matter what you own or what you have. You're all in the same prison.
What do they call it in the sushi bit? A closed ecosystem.
Yes.
Where everything is kind of maintained.
Yeah.
As they go through the club section, the Nam and his daughter are stealing.
Yes.
From basically everybody.
Everybody, Dave.
They're taking all the Cronal that is on the tables.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, it's hilarious. At one stage, he's got so much Cronal, he's just grabbing like bowls of Cronal, pouring it behind him, with his daughter just trying to catch it in her top.
That's so good.
He takes jewellery off someone else. He's got a bottle of wine for you believe for the first time. This is the first time she's drank or seen a nightclub or been out. This is like her debutante ball. So they steal everything. They're getting through this nightclub. We get into a room at the back of the nightclub, which feels like some old school rave room where everyone chilled out and smoked dope and got damaged.
Yeah, I wrote this down as the crack den of the train.
Yes, that's excellent. And that room, strangely enough, seems to be a hot tub room with no water in it. The first place doesn't have water in it. But this is a room where, they steal everything and start moving forward. Then we get into, which seems to be kind of like the technology centre of the train.
Yeah.
It's where maybe all security, communications, water, electrics, everything seems to be run from this section.
That's interesting. I just wrote down it's kind of like a bridge inside of the train with like lots of gears and stuff. And it's the last point before the Eternal Engine.
Yes, that room, that gear room, absolutely. But just before the gear room is a room of black cages where there are computer systems and guys inside the cages, and that's the room I was on about, Dave, that I believe that room is the main brain of the train.
It is funny that trying to write down every carriage I saw watching this film, I think I missed like 3 that
don't
you
worry,
spotted.
Dude, it's a huge train.
It is such a big train.
It's a huge train. So that's what that carriage is, and then like you say, Dave, out of that carriage we come to the final carriage before Wilson's room itself.
Yeah.
Which does just look like an engine room with, like you say, with like a gantry over it, And this is actually where we're coming to kind of like the zenith of Curtis's and Nam's storyline.
Yeah.
Both of their arcs have been kind of going parallel as they go on, and now we get to their cross-section. This is where they bump heads. And they actually have a small fight because Nam wants to leave.
Yeah. This is kind of the plot twist of the film, is that we didn't realize that Nam's goals were not necessarily the same as Curtis's goals.
Certainly.
He does try to open the engine room, but it seems like he can't.
Yeah, it seems like he can't. He has a fight with him, and he does, funnily, then saying to him, you have a problem with the gate?
Yeah.
Listen, you got a problem with this gate? And like the man, and actually just before that, Nam gets out all the chronol, and you think Nam is going to go like just get completely off his head at this stage because they can't get through this gate. But like Nam says to him, he just squishes it all together, and he says, "This is a bomb, basically."
Yeah,
puts a fuse into it, which just gets out of nowhere, and then sticks the bomb to the door. Then they have their fight.
Yeah, because Curtis wants to take the engine, he wants to take the train, but Nam wants to leave the train. Yeah, and one thing that would have been, I don't know, is it hinted at is the correct word, but one constant theme of Nam is that anytime that there was a window, he was looking out to see how much the snow has melted.
Yeah.
And even when we passed the Revolt of the Seven, he said, I remember seeing them a few years ago and the snow was like up maybe to their shoulders, but now it's like down to their ankles.
And there's a great line Nam gives to Curtis where he says, I don't have it written here, but just off the top of my head, I think he says to him, you want to open a gate, I want to open a door.
Yes.
Which is excellent. It's a great sense of decide that like a gate usually leads into another compound.
Yeah.
Or into another shed or another enclosed space. Whereas usually in our minds a door leads to freedom and to an expanse.
Yeah, and it shows Curtis's like narrow-mindedness because he's so accepting of life on the train. He just wants to have a better life on the train, whereas Nam wants to leave the train.
Absolutely, Dave. And it really gives us that hint that everything going forward, left to right, linear, isn't the path that's going to win.
Yeah.
It's that lateral movement.
Exactly.
If you can just move laterally once, then you might have a chance.
Good analysis. Yeah. Very good. And the other thing as well is that I, as a viewer, that didn't occur to me. I was in with the Snowpiercer mindset. I was like, oh, just take the front and that's perfect. That's how it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of like, oh, of course, you can leave the train.
They
did such a good job of establishing.
They really did.
I fell for the propaganda that if you leave the train, you freeze and die.
Yeah.
So that didn't even occur to me. So that was very good. And then in a moment where the plot and the momentum kind of stopped for a while, this is a bit you weren't the biggest fan of.
Yeah, it does. It does slow the movie down completely. They have had their little fight to calm him down. Nam throws him the last cigarette in the world. You know. Actually, funnily enough, Nam pulls out his translator, and like I was saying to Dave, I just caught that. Nam pulls out his translator, and Nam is telling him, "You're now smoking the last cigarette in the world. Why don't you enjoy it, Curtis?" And the translator translates Curtis as "you tail section pig." So even to the very end, this train has got like its classes system built in, even to its wiring. You know.
Yeah.
Then Curtis kind of starts to tell him this. Basically, Curtis tells him his origin story of entering the train.
Yes.
So that, like, when they literally come into the train, and it gives you a sense of, like you said, there was like 1,000 people in an iron box. Yeah. It gives you that sense of a Holocaust train. You know, going to death without a shadow of a doubt.
And there was no systems in place. It was just anarchy, and I don't think they even saw anybody from any of the other carriages for a while. The protein blocks hadn't been invented.
I believe so. I agree, Dave, because he kind of says later. Does he say? It was a month or 2 months later the protein blocks turned up or something from the front. Yeah. So they literally that you get a sense that the apocalypse happened and everyone just piles onto the train and then we'll figure it out as the train is rolling. Yeah. You know? So he goes on to basically just kind of describing to you the movie Alive. You know, but in a train as opposed to on a mountain. So like he says, after a month we ate the week. Yeah, you know, which is pretty hardcore. And
he said when he starts it off, he says to, oh, sorry, go on. I was going to say to Nam, one of the things I don't like about myself is that I know what people taste like.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He actually says after a month we ate the week, and then he said, yeah, I know what people taste like. And like you said, David, the whole pacing has changed as well, because this is one of the first times in the movie where the whole film is just framing of Curtis's head flicking to the framing of Nam's head.
Yeah.
So that is literally the only time that's happened in the film, where we just get literally, if you're in the cinema, we just have two giant heads talking to each other. And in a way, they're kind of giving you the alternate choices you would get in kind of like an Assassin's Creed book or something right here now. Do you want to go to page number 52 or do you want to go to page number 75?
This actually reminds me of something I read about behind the scenes. Just from like a cinema perspective, when two people are usually talking, it's usually like shot, reverse shot, which is sort of over the shoulder, like slightly tilted to an angle.
Exactly.
But this is like straight on, you say.
Yeah, old school filmmaking.
Absolutely, definitely profile.
One face dominating the screen. The Bull McCabe basically talking to himself.
But I read a behind the scenes interview with Chris Evans, and he was talking about working with Bong Joon-ho, the director, and saying that Chris Evans himself has done some directing. He seems to be a fairly talented, incredibly attractive man.
Yeah.
And he said that when he was working with this director, he was very surprised that he was getting no coverage shots, because usually when you're filming a scene, you will do it from a couple of different angles, like the close-up on one, the close-up on the other, the medium and the wide, and then pick the best in editing.
Yeah.
Where Bong Joon-ho doesn't do that.
Yeah.
He just gets the shots and goes, no, that's all I want. That's all I'm going to use. Like, I'm filming now what I see in my head. And he said during the filming process, he was really worried the whole thing was going to be terrible because he wasn't getting enough coverage shots.
Yeah,
but apparently this director only shoots what he needs.
Okay.
And that's what we get. And I think it turned out really well.
Yeah, I do too. He must have been really, really well storyboarded though and laid out, Dave. And he must have weeks of rehearsal and discussion with his editor, and it must be planned almost minutely to do something like that.
Yeah,
because that's a massive gamble.
Because obviously, of course, Chris Evans wouldn't have been party to the planning, because the planning would have taken place in South Korean language, and he wouldn't have been able to speak that.
Fact. Yes, absolutely. So they're having this discussion. So Curtis and Nam are talking about basically the origin of Curtis. We're in there, all of them in the thing. They started eating the week. But then he basically takes this massive jump, which kind of there's no need for. We know how bad it is. You just told us you ate people.
Yeah.
And so he basically looks him in the face and says, I know that babies taste best.
Yes, I wrote down that line as well. Babies taste best.
And I've written after too much with NB written on both sides of it and two asterisks. But anyway, look, I see his point in the sense of I know babies stay first, because what he's trying to do is set up this ultimate story.
Yeah.
So he says basically there was one woman left who was trying to hide her baby, and that
men came at her with knives.
Exactly, Dave. Exactly.
And
they were going to take the baby. They were going to kill her.
They did take the baby and they did kill her.
Exactly.
But then they were trying to decide who would kill the baby, because that was like a line that they were a little less sure about crossing.
Brilliant.
And then a man came forward and said, give me the knife.
Exactly, and they thought, okay, this guy's
going to kill the baby for us. That's great.
He's going to be the leader on this point.
Yeah. But then the man cuts off his own arm.
Yes.
And presents it to the men and said, eat this instead.
Yeah, and then we basically realized, because he actually, again, another line he shouldn't have said. It's just him maybe learning about script writing. He says to Nam, and you can guess who that old man was.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't say that at all.
You don't have to say that at all.
Of course, I guess who that old man was. It's John Hurt's been walking around with an umbrella for an arm for like the last hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or an hour.
Visual rating for this film, 10 out of 10. Yeah. Multiple drafts of dialogue. Maybe a slightly lower mark.
Excuse me. In a way, Gilliam starts the new movement forward.
Yeah, like a cultural revolution in the train section.
Exactly.
Where it is viewed highly that you have less limbs because you're willing to sacrifice yourself for the greater good.
Exactly.
And the other bit of backstory we get is that the baby who Curtis nearly killed and ate was Edgar, his second in command for the whole film.
You're so right.
And it brings some colour back to all the times where Curtis during the film was asking Edgar, like, do you remember your mother's face? And Edgar's like, nah, man,
that makes
I don't.
Loads of sense. Exactly.
So like Curtis took this guy under his wing for the whole film because he nearly ate him.
Yeah.
So that sort of sets that up. That's why Curtis feels like he's unworthy to lead, because he was willing to eat a baby and Gilliam wasn't.
And then strangely, I was just laughing at it as he's telling this whole story to Nam. He's had the last cigarette in the world in his finger and he's wasted it.
Yeah.
It's all burnt out to ash.
He didn't smoke it at all.
I think Bong as well hates cigarettes as well.
Yeah.
I think that's another comment. Where the man's been going, that's a comment, an anti-smoking comment, and he basically kind of says to them, Curtis basically says to Nam in a way, he says like, look, it's 18 years later. I've hated it Wilfred for 18 years.
Yeah.
So we realise now as well that they've been in that train for 18 years, which is a long, long time.
I think they did mention earlier that, what was it, Edgar is about 17, he was a train baby, but Curtis was 34, he was 17 years on, 17 years off.
Exactly.
And now with the New Year bridge thing, it's 18 years on, because that's apparently how they count.
And and just at the end of that, like you said, Curtis admits, he says, I was the one that killed the mother, so he did actually stab her. Maybe you just said that, James, sorry, I didn't catch it properly.
Maybe.
Yeah, but then Nam says to him, your story is beautiful. You have a beautiful story, and actually I was wrong. And that's when he says, when he goes for don't open the gate. open a door.
Yeah. And we'll discuss the finale of Snowpiercer after this. And we're back. Welcome to the final piece of Snowpiercer, Babies Taste Best. My name is David Sheehan. I'm here with Mr. James McAuliffe on the Movie Book Club.
So Dave, we were there. We're at kind of at the end of the conversation. Two boys are not fighting each other anymore. They both realize now at this point what they both want to do.
Yes.
Curtis wants to push on. He needs to see what's behind this door. He needs to see what's in the final carriage. Nam, he doesn't need to see it. He doesn't care at all. He just wants to get back out into the real world. And like he says about the train itself, he looks at it and he says, everybody thinks it's a wall, but it's a door.
Yeah. Like the world lies beyond this. This isn't where the world ends.
Yes, absolutely.
And he puts the block on the door.
He does. He puts the block on the door. He does say to him though, why his theory, like Curtis says, you just want to go out there and freeze to death. And his theory said to him, he said, look, it has been changing as things have been going on. Basically, for the last 10 years, every single New Year's Day, Nam looks out over the bridge, and just at the bottom of the bridge is a plane. And for the first 8 years, all you could see was the tail of the plane. But over the last 10 years, the snow has been slowly melting, and now you can see all the fuselage, you can see the wings, you can absolutely see the plane. And like Nam says, it doesn't take, when it starts going, it doesn't take much for the whole thing to change very quickly. You know? So he's basically trying to say to him, and then like you say, Dave, he puts the bomb on the door, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, he asks Curtis for the light, but then unexpectedly the door to the engine opens.
Yes.
I think Curtis is hesitant to give him the match because he's still in the old world of thinking that like you just got to live inside the train.
Yes.
The yellow woman comes out.
And
she just unceremoniously shoots Nam in the gut.
Nam, and Gin goes measure stuff. She measures everything.
She does. I forgot that.
So weird.
She measures the bomb. She doesn't remove it.
No.
She just wants to know how big it is.
Yeah. She just measures the bomb.
That's so
weird. It really is weird. It's like what's your man? It's like your man from the Guardians of the Galaxy's turd or something. That big blue guy. I always thought that he always laughing behind make really massive turds. So I always remember that was in Guardians of the Galaxy too.
I wonder was she wondering are her turds as big?
Yeah, but
also as well, she's another mute character. She never speaks.
She does.
Does she?
Once.
Okay.
That's a fair point, because I thought the same.
Oh, no, you're right. She does towards the end, yeah.
She just says one thing to Curtis.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. No,
But
okay.
anyway, we'll go on. So
I'll cross out that point.
Exactly. So the door opens, out comes the yellow woman, shoots Nam, and then formally invites Curtis into the front carriage to meet Wilfred.
Yes.
For a meal, actually, is what he says. For dinner. Formally invited for dinner.
And this is when we realise that Wilfred is played by Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Just like random Ed Harris cameo.
Ed Harris basically turning up going, genius, give me 5 million, I need to put a conservatory onto my house. I'll say these few lines and cook a steak medium rare for me and Captain America.
Yeah, and he basically explains to Curtis the concept of balance.
He does, and he also says to Curtis, which is amazing, that Curtis is the first human to ever move through every single carriage in the whole train.
Yes.
Gilliam hasn't, or he hasn't.
Yeah.
Which is very strange.
He said all the way from the back to the front, and I was thinking, well, we know the yellow woman has been at the back, and the yellow woman is currently at the front, but I guess she didn't go all the way to the back of the tail section.
Exactly. Curtis literally got on through the first door at the back of the train.
Yes.
And he is now almost at the very, very, very front of the train. And in the straight... Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, Dave, you're right. And yes, and he has that whole thing about... we're all in jail here. We're all capsuled in.
Yeah.
And he basically gives, which in a way to me what I was thinking was, this is a new first world problem in the train. He says, up here it's really noisy and lonely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Curtis looks at him going, I've been eating babies. Noisy and lonely. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? Like Curtis says to me, you got this, basically, to do anything you want for you. And you're telling me you're noisy and lonely.
Yeah. Ed Harris is talking about the balance of the train, which harkens back to our bit during the sushi section.
Yeah.
Talking about how it's a closed ecosystem and they can't have the population explode because then they'd all die.
Yeah.
And this is when he references that this was his and Gilliam's plan.
Totally, Dave.
Which is like a proper plot twist in this film.
Plot twist.
They did hint at it when Gilliam told Curtis to cut out Wilfred's tongue and don't let him talk.
Exactly, Dave. Which was a strange thing in the sense of, has Gilliam lost faith in Wilfred?
Yeah.
You get me? Maybe they did start out with a plan together, one at the back and one at the front, because then we get this idea of so maybe Gilliam has fallen out with love with him and his whole plan.
Yeah.
Because like he even says to Curtis, he says, your revolution was meant to stop.
Yeah, at the bridge.
At the bridge.
That's when it was all supposed to go, but like they weren't expecting that he'd have fire from Nam.
Yeah, and he loves it, like, and he describes it like a plot point in a thriller.
Yeah,
literally. I mean, I know it is, but he does, like, in their real world, you know, that made it exciting.
Yeah.
So they've been watching this all along unfold.
And it says as well that he orchestrated all of the past revolutions as well.
Yes.
And that there's a unity
because there were intelligent ways to cull people, basically.
Yeah,
or creative ways.
Yeah, and that the head and the tail of the train always have to be in sync for the balance to be maintained. And then he reveals that there's a secret phone in the wall behind his logo, and that there's a corresponding secret phone at the back of the train
where Gilliam used to sit.
Yeah. Exactly. That was staring us in the face for the whole film.
The whole film, absolutely.
And then he flips the phone over and he dials it, and who answers at the other end but the Crazy Eggman.
Crazy Eggman, yeah. He's standing there with all of Curtis's people.
All of Curtis's people bound on their knees.
Machine guns.
And he says to kill 74% of them.
He said kill 74%, and he said, hey.
Actually, leave 18 alive for, a celebration of the 18th year. And then the egghead guy's like, it's a most auspicious number, so. And he just executes people.
Yeah, and then that's when he turns to Curtis and says to him, "There are your people dying." And that's the first time Curtis kind of almost gets up the chair to go for him. And then that's where we got Yellow Woman. Actually, her name is Claude.
Oh, Claude, yeah, they do say.
Yeah, because he says to Claude, mind, she fires off a bullet.
Yeah.
And what she says to him is, mind your table manners.
Yes.
That's the only thing she says in the whole bloody movie is about manners.
Yeah.
From a killer. So he says, mind the engine. He says she's getting a bit testy or antsy or something at the moment.
Yeah, I wrote down the line. I'm not sure who says it. There's not enough crazies on the train.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. So
we could have cut back to outside now, where Nam is kind of waking up from his bullet shot, and we realize that the crack den and the club have sort of collectively realized that they've all been robbed.
Yeah.
So they're sort of advancing forward towards our protagonists.
Exactly. Nam is there and his daughter.
Yes.
And they're slowly coming towards them. Nam is now fighting them, trying to stop them. And
he is, again, incredibly proficient in hand-to-hand combat.
Amazing.
Holding off an entire army by himself.
Amazing.
Dude must be super famous in South Korea.
Yeah. And now we're cutting between two absolute opposites. We have basically the revolution has now come to the back door of Wilson's. The people at the upper class people have lost people as well. Everyone has lost people now at this stage, and they're basically having a face-off. And while this is happening, he is introducing Curtis to the actual engine.
Yes.
To one of the only places on the whole train where you can be alone with yourself.
Yes, yeah.
Which in a way is one of the more powerful emotions in the whole film.
Exactly, yeah. Curtis gets to be alone in the train heart, and Wilfred even says to him, like, how long has it been since you've been alone?
Exactly.
And it's probably more than 18 years.
And even he taunts him, Dave, before that. Remember, he says, like, Gilliam said 2 hands is better to be with a woman than one. And that starts driving Curtis demented, So he lets him alone to gather himself in the train. Obviously, he breaks down because of everything that's happened and everything he's done to everyone else.
Yeah. Curtis... Wilfred gives him another note. He said, I just wrote this now.
The last red letter.
And it says train.
Yes, exactly.
And he wants Curtis to take over.
Yeah, and he basically reveals to him that that's their plan all along.
Yeah. Gilliam had chose Curtis to be the new train leader.
Exactly. Outside it's going demented. They're all fighting with each other. Franco, the older, turns up again, and we finally kill him.
Yes, we do. Yeah, he's still going for the daughter, and Nam manages to take him out. I can't remember how he kills him exactly, but yeah, that man is practically unkillable. I wouldn't be surprised if he got back up again after the credits.
Wouldn't. I swear to God, if he's his own little movie, like where he just gets up again and kills everyone. So mind the engine.
The daughter runs in to the engine, and she's trying to get the match off of Curtis from the cigarette to light the bomb.
Exactly.
While Nam is fighting off the crowd. And she keeps saying, Curtis, the match, Curtis, the match. Yeah. And in like some great symbolism taking us back to John Wick, Curtis is like standing above her on the threshold of the engine. Yeah, he's just kind of looking down and he's not answering. We feel like we've kind of lost him.
We've lost Curtis, I think so. Yeah, has he almost become Ed Harris at this point?
I was going to say, then the girl has another clairvoyant moment.
Exactly, Dave.
And she pulls up a floorboard, and then that's where we find where the kids ended up.
Exactly.
The kids are under the floorboards of the train. I don't know, are they moving coal in and out, or are they just moving bits? But
they're basically keeping it lubricated. They're oiling it, they're greasing it, they're keeping the whole thing moving. And like he says, Wilfred says, children under 5.
Yes.
what we need because they're small enough and they fit in here.
Yeah, and that's what we need the tail section for. We need the tail section to produce children for us to use the engine, because the engine is eternal, but the parts break.
Exactly.
Which is a great like Ship of Theseus kind of moment.
100%.
And that's when Curtis says everything in their preordained position, and he does that weird hand gesture with like the forward hand and making to a fist, and then we realize that's what the kids are doing all the time.
Exactly.
Is they're taking a thing and putting it into another thing.
Exactly.
So the preordained position is like a reference to what the kids are doing. When Curtis sees this,
yes,
that breaks him out of his
finally
thing.
brings him back to being Curtis again.
Yeah, because he's willing to run the train, but he's not willing to run the train on babies.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's basically what's powering it.
Yeah,
the small dead
it's
children.
just a waste of tasty babies.
Yeah.
So then he gives the match to the daughter, and she lights the fuse.
Yes.
And then
we just get this scene of her running back with the coats, all hugging Curtis in a moment.
Yeah, right before that, I actually forgot to mention, he jams his hand into the gears of the engine.
You're so right, yeah.
To stop it, to get the kids out. And like the kids seem super brainwashed. Like they don't want to leave the engine.
You're so right, Dave, and that was it. Because actually, Andy. Yeah, Andy is actually there. Spud's child is there, and he is so brainwashed. He just stands up, gets up, and goes straight into the engine to try and restart it.
Yeah, he is not listening.
Basically sacrificing himself immediately.
Yeah, and Curtis does manage to pull Timmy out, and then when they light the bomb, they realize that they can't close the door of the engine.
Exactly.
So Curtis and Nam hug the daughter and Timmy to try and protect them from the explosion, and everything explodes. Huge shockwave. The train is damaged massively,
and that shockwave then sets off an avalanche.
Yes,
which hints towards the last time in New Year's we saw the train piercing through the snow, and the snow itself was kind of almost derailing the train. It was going up on two wheels and going up on the side. So now we see that nature itself is the downfall of the train again.
And we see a great little moment where it reminds you very much of Japanese anime. We just get lots of cuts of lots of people in the different carriages looking out at the window at the oncoming train.
Yes,
your classic reaction shot.
No, you're so right, Dave. And with those shots, they hear the bomb, but it hasn't reached them yet.
Yes.
And then the first thing, they hit a tunnel straight away, and then it's absolute carnage.
Yeah, the whole train derails after being hit by the snow. Everything, like, lots of explosions. And then we sort of have a fade to black and a fade back up of, some time has passed a little bit. People got knocked out. The sparks everywhere.
Yes.
And the daughter wakes up with Timmy. And they step outside.
Yeah, and they're calling their names, but everyone's dead.
Everyone else is dead.
You believe that everyone is dead.
It seems like everyone on the train has died except for these two kids. And they step out into the snow, and there's a good moment where they kind of hang on her footprint because you don't quite know how deep her foot's going to go.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go that deep.
No, it doesn't go that deep. So the permafrost is there, and it's probably all melting, and there probably is life coming back.
Yeah. And then the final moment of the film, where we successfully got to the end of the film within the time allowed, is that they see a polar bear. Which, on a shallow viewing, you think, oh man, they're just going to get eaten by a polar bear. That's not a great ending. But it hints that there's life outside the train. It's the first sign of life.
And not only is there life in the sense of that there's a little plant or a piece of greenery, there's a polar bear.
Yes.
An actual, an animal that needs to hunt and kill other animals to survive.
Yeah, an apex predator. And you can't have an apex predator without an ecosystem below it.
100%, my friend. That's exactly it. So in a strange way, people think, fruity polar bear. No, that actual polar bear is a great symbol in this movie.
Yeah.
It really shows. And in a way, you're kind of almost hoping there was some other human somewhere that did survive.
Yeah.
Because this kind of insane Adam and Eve ending as well, where a little 4-year-old black boy and a 12-year-old Asian girl are going to repopulate the earth.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long one.
And much like Jamie Bell, their kid's obviously going to have an Irish accent.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah. So exactly, the polar bear really gives us that hint, like you said, Dave, that it is an apex predator and that there has to be other life on this planet.
Yeah. So that concludes Snowpiercer. It's one of my favorite films. I will definitely acknowledge that it is kind of dumb in places. Yeah. But visually, I think it is excellent.
It is. It really is good.
And the sound design, I really like it.
Sound design is magnificent. Yeah, he really did a great job. And Captain America does a great job of taking it along, and some really good character actors in it. And it's well worth a look.
Definitely check it out. But bizarrely, don't watch it on Netflix because there's no subtitles. I have legitimate Blu-ray, which also doesn't have subtitles. I guess pirate it. I'm sorry. There's no other thing you can do. That's the only way you can do it to get the subtitles. So that's the Movie Book Club. I've been David Sheehan. I'm here with James McAuliffe.
Until next time, people.
Until next time. Goodbye.